Hello, Northstar here with another Cell the Singularity Let's Play. Now, this one will be quick. It's more, just to get myself to, I would say, kind of be in the habit of recording something. Maybe get myself to, work up the energy for a pop-up dungeon or Wildermyth or Starbound. Let's play those are the three I'm eyeing right now. I really need to do a Wildermyth one because I got a couple people might want to do a new campaign with me. So, assuming that one of those doesn't fall through, I need to finish my ongoing campaign. Although, really, today I'm just in the mood for pop-up dungeon. Either way, I need to get stuff done. I'm sure most of you folks don't watch my other series, but you should. You should check out those games. They're cool. Wildermyth is a, how would I describe it? A procedural story generating game. That's not a good way of describing it. It's a story where you have groups of heroes who may have shown up in previous campaigns. Everything's organized into distinct campaigns, which might each take, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours game time if you're not streaming and doing it slower like I am because I'm talking to the audience, you know. Maybe a little longer, 20 hours. And your heroes can reappear from previous campaigns. They get pulled into the story via various events that can hook them in. Usually, one per chapter will be recruitable, just in a very generic way, and then there's events that can pull more in. You have to spend legacy points to recruit previous ones. It's a core part of the meta progression of the game because it lets you build up characters who are higher level and have really good combinations of abilities that you're not likely to just randomly roll unless they've been in multiple campaigns. Not to mention they won't usually reach max level without having been multiple ones. Um, uh, Starbound is kind of like a mix of Terraria and Minecraft to a lesser degree, and I guess Terraria with a little more emphasis on building, but then in space with a bunch of planets to go to. Planets aren't huge, but I never played Terraria actually, but it's been described that way. I know it's got similarities to Minecraft, and it's a builder exploration game. There's a story to it, more significant than Minecraft, but and pop-up dungeon. I've done a ton of those. Have a huge buffer of them, but a lot of times I'm just very tired of my long COVID. It's an easy game for me to sit down and do a video of, so I just keep doing more of them. Even if some of the other series more badly need updates. It's a game that it's most exceptional for your creativity and ability to craft new skills, characters, summons, game modes, campaigns. Um, it can be thought of as almost a sort of tabletop role-playing game simulator if you go and create, say, a campaign and then play it with your friends. It's supposed to work with Steam Remote Play, but it's laggy as hell, like everything Steam Remote Play that way. People also use, God, what's that app? There's a few apps that people use that like share the view of your desktop and let people control mouse all within an app. It'll come to me. So probably best played in that way with friends, but even the single player version can keep you. Even the single player campaigns, or the rather pre-mades, they're all technically single player, but even the pre-made campaigns, and one's meant to be, and one's played alone, can keep you busy quite a few hours. Just be careful in the workshop, or don't enable mature content, because Mature isn't like violence. There, mature ends up being like perverted sexual stuff that some idiots have swamped the workshop with. The mature stuff is disabled by default, and you should not enable it. There's plenty of interesting stuff without it, and it doesn't add anything to enable that. It's, as I said, it's not like violent content is being censored or something. The game is a fighting game, so everything is violent. And role playing. It's just excessively sexual stuff or stuff that's maybe loaded with swear words that would be in the mature section. Um, but anyways, keeping wary of that part of the workshop and some of the people on Discord. There's a couple weird perverts. One of my first experiences at Discord community, there was a real weird perverted guy, unfortunately. But keeping shy of those people, and it sucks that we have a society that people can't find fulfilling romantic relationships, have to do that, especially a lot of men. Partly it's a failure of our society to raise men correctly. Partly it's capitalist alienation, and partly there is a truth of women have been oppressed so damn long in our society that the pendulum has swung so far in attempting to liberate and undo some of those injustices. That in some ways men are getting screwed, but in other ways they're still extremely privileged. So I don't mean to buy into that men's rights nonsense. Although I will say that occasionally people have argued things about like the way divorce, child custody is handled and mixed into those groups, and there is some truth to women automatically getting custody of kids in divorces, even if the mother is a problematic, like drug addicted individual or whatever. Although I'm probably lucky those rules exist, because in my case, my parents are divorced. My dad is an asshole, but he tried to smear my mother's reputation with made up stuff. If the system wasn't biased in her favor, which it probably was, that and the fact that he corrupted some of her lawyers and like bribed them to not do their job correctly. She had to switch lawyers, and he did it to two lawyers in a row before she got one that didn't like take bribes. um, yeah, he was the asshole, and there's no question that in this case I'm lucky the system worked the way it is. But just because sometimes people benefit from a system, um, doesn't mean there aren't some injustices. Um, but that has more to do. That's actually, ironically, patriarchy more than any change in gender rights. That is, the nature of patriarchy is that dual standards hurt both genders. Women are treated as objects under patriarchy, but they're often treated as objects more valuable than male lives, or that are somehow more pure, or um, objectification does not mean that the objects you're treating people as are not treated as valuable. It can mean that, but yeah, it's a fucked up thing. And anyways, there's some really interesting stuff. Some people have written about it, but you have to be wary, because there's a lot of these right wing assholes out there who leech on to toxicity. And but yeah, and you can't blame people for being resentful, because there are, to this day, a lot of toxic, evil fucking men out there who just abuse their power. So if things have swung a little far, they'll self-correct in time. People don't need to make a fuss over it. But what is true is that those people are out there, and you got to be wary of them. How did I even get on that topic? Something about oh yeah, yeah, there's weird perverts, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of those guys are actually um that men's rights nonsense, because they were raised poorly for a variety of reasons. Our society is failing to raise men well, to teach them sensitivity and kindness and things like that, and it's okay to cry, or at the same time it's so focused on um, like teaching girls they can do math. It forgets that math doesn't come easy to anyone. Boys need to be also encouraged to do math. Like, even if they're automatically assumed to be better at it than girls, there's a degree to which everyone needs to be encouraged in those fields. Anyways, and why is that relevant to relationships? Because earning potential often helps determine relationships. As I've seen with the insane difficulty I've had dating once I became disabled on COVID. No problems with, like, at least finding people who were willing to talk to me on dating apps before that, even though there's a lot of toxic, selfish people. But after, it's always, what's your career? What's your career? Because it's kind of left semi-blank. And the moment they find out I'm disabled, they just disappear. People are selfish. Which I know disability is a uniquely rough thing, but it does elucidate a deeper problem with our society of judging people only by the money they make, especially men, because they're expected to be bread workers. Again, patriarchy cuts both ways, and I despise patriarchy. It's messed up, but I'm sure women get the same treatment a lot of the time too, because the fact is our capitalist society is obsessed with money. It's just absolutely obsessed with it. When they're not just being judged by their looks, women are probably often just being judged by their wallets the same way men are. So, yeah, it's a fucked up system. Of course, you criticize the system in any way, whether you say it's too hard on men or too easy on them, whether you say capitalism is a problem, or claim like the system is somehow too left wing. It doesn't matter. If you get to what the status quo is in any way, there'll be people who shit on you and say you're the problem and not the system, which is ridiculous. It's especially ridiculous when criticism from any direction. The system we live in is absolutely not perfect. It's deeply flawed. It's failing an enormous number of people. And so while people can't disagree on how it's flawed, there's no question it is flawed and responsible for a lot of people's problems. I mean, a just system doesn't throw disabled people under the bus. It doesn't let 20 million people die of COVID and another like 144 million become disabled and do almost nothing to support them. It doesn't have mask bans in many states, which prevent people from protecting themselves against the coronavirus, which is still out there and still killing people and still disabling people. It doesn't have billionaires having more wealth than like half the planet. Like 80 something billionaires have more wealth than half the people on Earth put together. It's insane. This is not a functional system. So yes, it should be fine to criticize. Anyways, I don't want to get into that stuff. I guess one thought led to another. Games though. If you guys watch my Hard Time for Let's Play series, it might be a little bit till I do a new video with the single player one, just because I need to catch up with some of the other series I've been neglecting and push the ones I named a little bit, get the Starbound one moving with some single player in the same universe as the multiplayer before hopefully doing another multiplayer session the guy I've done. And there's someone else I'm trying to get to jump in and do a multiplayer as well, so maybe 3 different people rotating in and out of that universe and playing single player without them all the time. Older Myth, getting through the single player campaign I'm doing so I can do a new one. And then like I gotta revisit Vampire. I've got to revisit Potion Craft. So if you're Hearts Iron 4 fans, I do apologize if it's a tiny bit. I'm also rethinking how I'm gonna approach the role play stuff, because I recently learned the guy who is the communist advisor for the U.S., Earl Bauder, and becomes the country leader if you flip communist, was an asshole, an absolute shitbag of a person who made excuses for like America's racist colonialist past. I'm sure some right wingers love that, but he had no right to call himself a communist, really. And Bowderists are a scourge to this day. They're still around in the U.S. You find like the American Communist Party and other national Bolshevik type people who are like basically Nazis, and they're all descended from the Bowderist tradition. Um, it's telling that the only communist advisor they gave the United States who boosts communist support was a freaking like Nazi bull. The paradox is very much biased against leftism. You the video someone did, I remember recently, about Paradox's biases and how they present history, but the guy was a freaking liberal who would refuse to acknowledge the capitalism is a flawed system, and no matter how strong the evidence, would refuse to admit Paradox is actually biased against left-wing stuff. The first we go is say, well, they treat Stalin negatively and they treat Hitler neutral, and that's a problem, that they treat Stalin as being worse than Hitler. But no, they treat all left-wing ideologies as worse than literal fascism and Hartstein 4. And then the fucking right-wing player plays that game, pretends that's not the case. It is the case. The evidence is everywhere of it. They're so up their own asses, the right-wingers, that they think that when things are biased in their favor, that it's actually neutral or biased against them. It's the same thing as like where the Republicans in the U.S. always cry liberal media, but the media is actually biased in their favor. These right-wingers are just so egotistical that they actually believe the media is biased against them when it's in their favor. There's also some who know that it's biased in their favor and dishonestly make these claims, but a lot of them drink their own Kool-Aid. Which is a saying that derives from some religious nut jobs who poison themselves with Kool-Aid. So maybe it's a little morbid, and I shouldn't use that phrase, but I guess they are leading the United States right into destruction, these people now with Trump. This is not going to turn out well. Slashing all these programs is going to seriously weaken the country, and they're just going to be built right back up with a lot of instability. Or America's going to go fascist, so they won't be built back up, and instead we'll have like martial law and people getting murdered by soldiers shooting at crowds and stuff. Either possibility is not good. Of course, I'd much rather have a reversion to like the bureaucratic apparatus being built up than the soldiers shooting people in the streets, but fortunately I don't have much to say in it because ordinary people have been disempowered. Billionaire class holds all the cards. As someone is disabled, they can't even do the thing that normal people can do and get out and organize. Do get out and organize, though, if you're, able-bodied and able to, like, you're not, I don't know, in a situation where you can't do anything outside of, like, just survive, go and politically organize. There are a lot of organizations that you can connect with, like if you're a socialist, the Democratic Socialists of America, or if you're like a center-left, connect up with the Democratic Party, but things have to change. People have to resist, or things are going to hell. Anyways, I wish you folks all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves, and may you always find a guiding star lead you home. Adieu.